My name is Salil. I'm co-founder and CEO of AdSkate. Before I get into creative analysis and what AdSkate does, I just want to take a moment to thank Adventure Media for hosting this wonderful event and for inviting us. I personally had a great morning so far, and a lot of new things to learn, a lot of getting to meet a lot of interesting people, and I'm looking forward to more. I know everybody's probably waiting for lunch, so I'll keep this very, very short, probably 10 more minutes, so bear with me. What I have from an agenda perspective here today is I'll introduce AdSkate to you very briefly, tell you a little bit about who we are, what is it that we do. Then we'll talk a little bit about the whole purpose of creative analysis or creative testing, or why even do it. Followed by, then we'll get into the weeds of the solution, how the technology works, how to use it, what data you get, and how to use it effectively, whether it is optimizing at a campaign level or to build out a overall data-driven creative strategy. With that, let's get started. So, to introduce you guys to AdSkate a little bit briefly, essentially AdSkate was started with a sole purpose of converting any kind of content, whether it is an article that you're reading on a website, an image on an ad, a video, a podcast, or even a video ad, converting that digital content into meaningful data that you can use effectively to make decisions when you're either buying an ad, or where to buy, how to buy, or what essentially should go into an ad. So basically, from a technology standpoint, what we use is computer vision, natural language processing, AI, and we've taken that underlying tech and converted into sort of three solutions. One is contextual targeting. A natural extension of contextual targeting happens to be media planning, so that's our second product. But why I'm really talking to you guys today is for our third solution, which is creative analysis. Now, I typically, before getting into how to do creative analysis, I want to take a moment to bring up this question, which is, why analyze creatives? Like, why even do it in the first place? Why bother taking this extra step, which can maybe take some time, maybe money, some number crunching? Why even do it, or why bother doing it? So, according to folks at Harvard, a right creative will double your sales. Nielsen says that creative is still the king. And if you refer to Drum, they say that the creative data will dominate the whole of next decade. And Marvin actually had an entire presentation on it. Just to summarize, you can use all the tools that you have at your disposal to reach the right person at the right time in the right place online. But if your ad does not speak or connect with that person, then you're not going to yield the kind of results that you want from your campaign. Which basically summarizes that 70% or even 75% of the success of your campaign actually depends on the ad itself. Yet, very little has been done to leverage modern-day technologies like data and AI to understand the impact that an ad is having on your campaign. And this is exactly where AdSkate comes into the picture. It enables you to measure what is it within that ad that is actually driving the results for your campaign. With that, here's an ad. Let's assume, for the sake of this conversation, that this was actually a successful ad. Now, why was this ad successful? Was it because there's like a meat on the grill, because there's smoke coming out of the grill, or you have this nice, beautiful logo, or it's actually the tattoo on the person's arm? How do you answer those questions? Now, this is just one ad, but typically, a campaign or your creative strategy includes hundreds of these, which have so many elements, including your messaging, your color, your call to action, if you have video, even more. And then you apply all of these creatives across multiple channels, like social, display, YouTube, video. How do you really try and infer what is it that's really working? And that's where AdSkate uses AI and data to get some of these insights for you. And our solution essentially consists of three parts. Part number one is extracting creative data. So we take a creative and extract some of the key elements out of it, like your object, your message, your color, your call to action. Then we combine those creative metrics or creative data that we have extracted with campaign data. Now, those campaign data can fall into two main categories. One is your campaign parameters, like your audiences, your geo, other targeting parameters that you may have. And then the second part of campaign data, which is your metrics, your click-through rates, your view rates, engagement metrics, if you're tracking installs, brand lift, what have you. And then what you get as a result are insights that help you understand the impact that these creative elements are having so that you can come to certain very actionable conclusions. Like, oh, when I had a meat being grilled on the ad, my view rate actually shot up by 50%. Or like when I was using the grill in an outdoor setting in the nature, the engagement was even more and my view rate went up by 40%. So how do we do this? Let's start with the first step of the process, which is extracting creative data. So here is an ad, and what we do is we start with some of the key objects that may be present within the ad. So this ad has vegetables and the brand logo being grilled, so this is just one ad. Now what we do is we apply similar logic across every single ad that is a part of your campaign. And then we make combinations of key objects that might be present across different ads and group them together and the ads associated with it. So essentially now you're trying to understand the impact of an object, like it can be meat or a person or a vegetable or a smoke coming out of it, whatever it is, right? We group them into each individual group, each having a unique combination of objects and what are the ads associated with it. Now we take these groups and for example, when you try and combine different groups within an ad or within a set of creatives, you can have as many as like hundreds of different groups. So we take all of these 100 different groups that you saw, and then we merge them with campaign data, like impressions, view rates, click-through rates, to understand which object has a profound impact on the actual performance of the campaign. Now, this is great. So I think some of you might be able to relate to this table. It's sort of like an Ingram report that you see when you're doing Google ads, except that instead of keyword and keyword combinations, you essentially have object and object combinations, so you can understand the impact of objects within an ad on the performance of the campaign. But that data can be really hard to consume and draw insights from. So what we do is we take that data and transform it into actionable insights, which are delivered to you either in the form of a dashboard like Google Data Studio, which you can play around with, or even more distilled to give you actionable conclusions. Like, for example, ads with grilling meat, where the best performing ads despite having low impressions. Followed by when you had sausages in the ad, they were ranked number 2, and then when you added vegetables to it, they performed even, like they were ranked number 3. Now, we also summarize these insights at an ad level, because in the end, when you're trying to optimize a campaign, you cannot work with like changing the objects, but what you can do is work by selecting the right kinds of ads. So what we summarize for you is, what are some of the top ads that are performing, and what are some of the top ads that are not performing? So here in this case, the 5 ads in the top 2 rows did really well as compared to the average performance of the campaign, whereas the ads in the bottom 3rd row did poorly as compared to the average performance of the campaign. Now, a quick sort of optimization action in this case would be to keep the ads that performed really well, and then to drop the ads that performed really well based on data and the objects that were present in them. Now, objects is just one attribute of an ad. A single ad has so much more going on in addition to objects. It can be messaging, it can be call to action, it can be the color of the product, it can be where the call to action is placed. So really, on an average, there are about 20 different attributes that we extract from each ad, and they go across objects, messaging, color, and when you start to bring in video, as Brendan said, like the adoption of video and the engagement with the video is a lot higher, the number of attributes even start to increase. Now, on an average, we've noticed that there are about 20 to 25 attributes that we can extract from a single ad. Now, when you take these 25 creative attributes and merge them with your 20-odd campaign parameters that you have, you're looking at massive amount of data to work with when you try to do every possible combination of, hey, this object and this color is giving me these impressions. You can really go crazy. And that is where AdSkate's AI helps you analyze all of these combinations using technology, yet bring out the ones that truly matter so that you can start acting on them even directly at a campaign level to see improvements, whether it is you're tracking installs, whether it is driving better click-through rates, or higher view rates. Just to give you an idea how creative analysis can be applied and can be effective across other campaign parameters. Let's say if you're optimizing for audiences, right? You get insights like having a specific call to action. Like, for example, when we noticed with one of our clients when they were targeting young professionals, a call to action of get fit now actually did a lot better instead of having subscribe and save. And a lot better, when I say a lot better, it's about 30% more. Another example, when you're trying to optimize for geos, we noticed with another campaign with a client, like having an actual image of a product instead of the description did better in New York. You can do similar optimizations, whether it is a specific type of campaign, like say you're targeting somebody at the top of the funnel with a prospecting campaign or a brand awareness campaign, versus as you start to move further down the funnel, the same ad may not work. But what is it within that ad that is driving or is going to have better engagement at the top of the funnel versus the bottom of the funnel? How do you determine that? That's where our data comes into the picture. Now, all of what I said in the last few slides was typically applied at a campaign level. But when you start to take that thinking of analyzing your ads, analyzing your creatives, and applying across multiple campaigns that you may be planning in an entire fiscal year or a quarter, you really start to see how important this data can be. Because you take your 100-odd ads within your creative library, apply it across all the channels that you might be working on, you truly start to build creative intelligence and understand what is it that is really going to connect with my audience. Not just one audience, but multiple audiences. What to do, what should I have within my ad when I'm targeting a particular audience in a particular geo. That's when you really start to see the power of using data for analyzing creatives. So I'll end with one comment, which is creative analysis, which I just presented to you, is one of the tools, and as Patrick said, in your toolbox. Knowing what tool to use, when to use, is also very important, and that's where having partners like Adventure Media really helps. So that's what I wanted to present to you guys. Thank you so much.